welcome to the fortnightly roundup of news and polls from Ipsos MORI. And as we pass the first anniversary of lockdown, we've released an infographic just showing, all of the key polls that we've done over this last year, tracking the attitudes to the government from the high point early in the pandemic to the decline as deaths mounted, and then to their recovery as the vaccine rollout in a way saved their reputation in terms of the handling of the pandemic. So there's all of that there and much, much more. And overall, as we roll out the vaccine very successfully and as deaths start to fall dramatically, concern about COVID-19 has now fallen to the lowest for a very long time, down from 72% to 49% of us saying it's the biggest problem facing the country. And overall, people are absolutely clear that Britain has done a better job than the EU on its vaccination programmes. Nearly 7 out of 10 of us think that, although we believe our performance on other aspects of the pandemic, and particularly lockdowns, is decidedly rather more mixed than our European neighbours. And indeed, of course, if you look at the death rates, they may have a point. But the public gives credit where credit is due. And the vaccination programmes, with up to 9 out of 10 people in Britain saying they've done a good job, is pretty phenomenal. For any government of any time to have 9 out of 10 people saying they've done a good job about anything is pretty amazing. Overall, we've got around half the population who say they will actually miss some aspects of lockdown, which is pretty astonishing, given that a lot of people have been pretty miserable. But the sorts of things that people are appreciating or have appreciated are spending more time with their families, less time commuting, and of course, quieter roads, and just being able to stay at home and have some peace. And of course, we expect to see many more people spending more time at home long after the pandemic is past. Overall, we've got at least 9 out of 10 people who want to spend some time working at home at least once a week. And actually, many want to spend several days a week working at home. And so we'll see what sticks when the pandemic is finally over. At the same time, just under half said they really do need face-to-face time with colleagues to work effectively. And that's particularly high among young people who, of course, are building their networks and experience and need support in a workplace often to do that. So it'll be fascinating to see what sticks and stays. Elsewhere this month, we've looked back at our prime ministers and our glorious British history, sometimes contested in the news. Overall, Winston Churchill is ranked as the most effective prime minister ever. Well, he did help win World War II. But Margaret Thatcher is in there as well. Tony Blair comes in third, but he's highly divisive in terms of opinions. And 2 recent prime ministers, Mrs May and Mr Cameron, both come in for a great deal of flack, with many more people saying they did a bad job than a good job. Clem Attlee, creator of the NHS and the welfare state and a number of other things after the end of World War II, has pretty much faded from memory. And I think that's a reminder that our biases, we all suffer from recency bias and sometimes motivated reasoning. Elsewhere, we've looked at the impact of Brexit. Most people haven't said it hasn't made any difference to them or anybody they know, but more people say that it's making things worse rather than better, either in their own daily life or in somebody else's life. Which is a reminder that it's not all plain sailing, although 6 out of 10 people so far not noticing any difference. It's not top of the polls in terms of people's concerns in Britain at the moment. The most positive outcome of leaving the EU is of course getting our sovereignty back, gaining controls over laws and regulations. People believe that it's allowed us to deal with the pandemic better, and it's of course allowed us to make independent international trade agreements. But nearly as many, 1 in 5, say there are absolutely no positive outcomes, and those divisions between Leavers and Remainers are still there, lurking beneath the surface. In terms of the monarchy, which has gone through a bit of publicity recently with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's interview, we can see that actually it probably hasn't made much difference. By a margin of about 2 to 1, people believe that getting rid of the monarchy would be worse for Britain than abolishing it. And that hasn't really shifted. So 4 out of 10 people say it would be worse if we abolished it before, and 19% say it would be better, pretty much the same as it was before. And generally, any number of scandals that we've seen over the last 3 decades really haven't very much shifted attitudes to the monarchy in Britain. Around 8 out of 10 people in Britain support keeping the monarchy. It just really hasn't shifted. As we approach a whole set of elections, particularly the Scottish elections this spring, we've got all of our polls there, which will be particularly looking at the Scottish one, because of course that could lead to the breakup of the UK if the SNP gets a majority a clear majority, and is able to demand another referendum. May not be a loud one, but if they did, the opinion in Scotland at the moment is tending towards voting to leave the UK. So we'll be tracking that very, very carefully with our team in Edinburgh, and all of the polls will be there. We've also looked at what happens to our landscape after Brexit for the Royal Society, and we've launched the largest random probability panel in Britain for really high quality but internet-based research, including those who were offline before they joined our panel. That's all for this week. See you soon.